Now we're going to learn the basic anatomy of an HTML page. So this is the basic HTML page, the basic requirements that you need for an HTML page. But what do these different things mean? What is an Doctype HTML with an exclamation point in front of it? What is HTML laying in? What is the head? What is the body? So these are the basic tags. We're going to learn these tags in this video. So Doctype HTML, that's the document declaration. It tells the browser that this is an HTML document. And this is not a tag. This is not an HTML tag or an HTML element. And we'll learn the difference about a tag and an element soon, right? This is a document declaration, also known as the document type declaration, or the DTD. And you can see here, you can pause the video and take a look at what MDN, Mozilla Developer Network, says about the Doctype declaration. But this is the source we are going to use throughout this course, and also the source I recommend you use throughout your career as a web programmer, or anytime you're building websites, for looking up documentation. You want to use MDN, Mozilla Developer Network. So here's what MDN says about the Doctype declaration. It's basically everything I just explained to you. I have to look around my microphone to see that far down on my screen because my microphone's right there on my screen. So the next one is HTML language English, and the HTML tag tells the browser that this is an HTML document. So everything from here, this is the opening tag, and then this slash here says this is the closing tag. Everything from here to here is the HTML document. So what kind of document is this? It's HTML. Where does it begin? It begins right here, and the HTML document ends right there. This is also known as the root element. It's the root, the beginning of this document, this tree, which is HTML. This is the start, the root of it. Okay, that's where root kind of comes from, I think, the analogy. At least for me, that's what it means. And so this is the HTML of our HTML document. And here we're just saying the language is English. So that's helping the browser know the language of this page. And then we have two areas nested inside. We have the head area and we have the body area. So the body area is everything that's going to show up to the user. That's like what the user sees. We're going to put all that code in the body area, and that'll be shown to the user through the browser's window, the browser's viewport. That's also known as the viewport. Everything in the head area is for additional information for the browser, right? So we put things in here like meta tags. Meta is a word that means like additional information. And so the one meta tag we absolutely want to put in is charset UTF-8. And so the character set is just saying, hey, this web page is encoded with the UTF-8 encoding scheme. So just a little note on that. This is like, just some additional information. But computers need coding schemes to translate circuits, switches, which are in on-off positions, into something meaningful. What does that mean? Here's an analogy. Your porch light on Halloween in America, I don't know what it's like in other cultures, but in America, when your porch light is on October 31st in the evening, Halloween, that means come trick or treat. You could come up to this house and trick or treat and get some candy. That's if the porch light's on. If it's off, that means go away. We don't have any candy here. And to some kids, it means play a trick on the house. They didn't give us candy. So on, if the switch is on, it means one thing. If it's off, it means something else. On, come trick or treat. Off, go away. Well, computers are just switches, which are in on-off positions. And, we create coding schemes to say, hey, if this configuration of on-off switches is in a certain arrangement, then it means the letter A or something, right? Like that. So that's a coding scheme. And by the way, that's why computers have all this 0 and 1 stuff. So 0 means off, the circuit switch is off, 1 means on. And so when you see a bunch of zeros and ones, it's showing you circuits which are in an on-off configuration. And then there's some coding scheme, which means when you have them in this on-off configuration, it means this. Just like your porch light on Halloween, if it's in this configuration, on means trick or treat, off means go away. So that's what that's saying. Meta charset UTF-8. We're using UTF-8, which is the world's most popular coding scheme, to encode this document. And you don't have to know anything else about it. That's like, computers are always operating. When you work with computers, you're always operating on the threshold of the unknown, right? It's like you come to things, you're like, okay, I understand kind of what that does, but I don't understand how to build a silicon wafer. So there's always something where your knowledge stops when it comes to computers. The title, which is the other thing to include in the head, that's what sets the area up on the tab, right? So the area on the tab, up here right now, if I go to the New York Times, not the New York, whatever, NH, that thing. If I go to the New York Times, it says the New York Times up here. If I right-click that, well, I can't inspect there. If I right-click down here and choose Inspect, I go into Developer Tools, and I've made this big so it's a little bit more clear. And I could come up here, there's HTML, there's the opening tag, there's the head area and the body area, and then the closing HTML tag, and then a whole bunch of code in between here. If I go in the head area and then scroll down, I'll come to title. Now it says the New York Times. I could change that, and I could just say McLeod. And now up here, it says McLeod. So that's how you change, what shows up in the tab. It's right there in the title area. So that's the head area, and now the final area that we have, and you can pause the video right here if you want to read about the head area, says head element provides general information about the document, including its title and links to scripts and style sheets. So we'll learn about that stuff later. And there we go. And then finally we have the body area. And so this is where you put your code that you want the user to see for the main web page. It goes in the body area. So that's the basic anatomy of a web page. We've learned about the Doctype, the document type declaration, which goes at the top. That is not an HTML element or tag, and we'll learn the difference between elements and tags soon. And then we learned that HTML lang in is where the HTML document is defined. It's got an opening tag, which is right here, and a closing tag. And then everything in between is the actual HTML code we're having the browser look at. This declares it as HTML. This is the HTML. And then we have two main areas, the head area and the body area. And inside the head area, we have that one and this one. And that changes what's at the tab. And then in the body, this is what we want to show up as the web page to the viewer in the normal browser window or viewport. So that's a little bit about the basic anatomy of an HTML page.